Hello, this is Patrick at OneCNC West, and what we're going to do in this training video is start to take a look at how we can create parts using OneCNC geometry. Now, you might be receiving your part data via something like an IGES file or a DXF file, but in this example, I want to show you how you can easily create geometry right within OneCNC. Now, you might have something like a blueprint or a Mylar that you take your information from. In my example, I'm just using a layer called print box that I created, and this is my blueprint. All right, and I can easily come down here and turn that blueprint on and off. Of course, you don't have to do this. This is just for training purposes so we can make sure that the geometry we create is right on track. Now, a tip I'd like to point out is that when you're creating your parts, you want to see if you have fillets or chamfers. If you do have fillets and chamfers, you might want to save those for later on or even at the very end, because OneCNC has some very nice tools for easily creating fillets and chamfers, and I'll demonstrate that. Now, to begin with, what we'll do is we'll create this rectangle, 150 by 75 millimeters, and then we'll create the fillet, and then the chamfer, and then we'll finish the project by creating the hole there. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to turn my blueprint layer off, and our first task here is to create this rectangle. So we're going to head over to the main toolbar. We'll select line. All right. Now, before I use coordinate input, I want to point out that you can grid snap if you'd like. We could come over here and snap the datum. I could come over to X of 150 and left click down to a value over here to X0, back up to the datum, and when I'm finished, I can right hand mouse click. All right, so if you'd like to do that, by all means you can. I believe for a system setup in metric, I believe that the snap grid snap units are, I believe, 10 millimeters. Okay, so what we'll do though is let's use coordinate input. So I'm going to undo this. I'm going to click the undo button a few times. All right, let's go back to our line tool, and now let's use coordinates. Now I want my line to start at X0, Y0. And sure, I can snap the datum, but over here we're just going to use the values here, the X, Y, Z0, and just click OK to that. Okay. Now once we've done that, now we want to come over to X of 150. So I'll type in 150. That looks good, so I'll click OK. Now we want to come down to Y minus 75. That looks good, so we'll click OK. We're going to go back to X0, so I'm going to type in 0 and click OK. Now we're going to come up to Y0, and you're noticing that I'm only typing in the axis that changes. Once we've done that, we'll click OK. And again, when we're done, we can right-hand mouse click. Okay, so there's another way that you can create a rectangle. Now I'm going to undo this again. I just want to show you that we also have a rectangle tool. All right, and again, you can use coordinate input, you can snap, you can grid snap, and you can combine both. In fact, I could snap the datum if I want to, and if I want to use coordinate input for my opposing diagonal corner, I could come over here and type in 150 for X. That looks good, and for Y, I'll type in minus 75, and if I'm happy with that, I'll click OK, and there you go. There's the rectangle. Very, very simple. And again, when you're done, just right-hand mouse click. Now let's make sure our rectangle's on track with our blueprint here. So I'm going to turn my blueprint layer back on, and everything looks good. Okay, let's create this fillet now. Now looking at our print here, we can see that this has a radius of 25. All right, so let's put that in. We're going to turn our print layer off. We'll come back over here to arc. All right, now here's our fillet command. Now because I have limited screen capture area, you're just seeing icons for the arc options, but if I expand this a little bit, your system's going to look like this, where you get the icon and a brief description over here. All right, but the main point now is we want to select the fillet command, which is right here, and down here where it says fillet radius, I'm going to type in 25. And now it's just up to us just to select both lines to put that fillet in, and it doesn't matter which one you select first. I'm just going to left click here. I'm going to come down and left click here as well. And then again, when we're done, we'll just right hand mouse click, and that looks great. Let's bring our print box layer back on, and everything's lining up nicely. Let's create this chamfer now. So a chamfer is a type of line. So we're going to head back to our main toolbar and select the line command. All right, and here you can see there's our chamfer tool. And the chamfer distance is 50 for this, so we'll type in 50. And again, it doesn't matter which line you select first. I'm going to grab here and left click here, and you get a nice preview as well. And what's really neat about the preview is that if you look at that and say, whoa, wait a second, there's something wrong, you can always come over here and type in a different value, and the preview updates itself. So that's very, very nice. We'll come back over here and make this 50. That looks good, so I'm going to left hand mouse click, and again, we're done, so we're going to right mouse click. So I think everything's looking really nicely here. This looks very good. Now let's finish this project up by creating this hole. This looks like this has a diameter of 12 millimeters. All right, so let's turn this off. We're going to go back to our main toolbar. We'll select our circle tools. We're going to grab this first option here, and this has a diameter of, I believe it was 12. And what we'll do now is we want to put that at the arc center of this. Now to do that, just take your cursor and wait till you see that little diamond symbol. You'll also see those little dashed lines. That also tells us that we're arc center. And then when you're done, you just left-hand mouse click. All right, that looks great. Let's bring our blueprint layer back on. And there's your very first part. Very, very simple to create within OneCNC. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.